They have updated the mold and the inspection addendum. However, they are reserved on the as-is contract because the mold and the inspection addendums don't apply to the as-is contract. They are for the standard contract. So when you see that the mold addendum and the inspection addendum have been updated, because I'm sure whether you're reading Florida Realtors or there will be articles presented by people, if you see those addendums, you don't have to worry about them in terms of the as-is contract. What is new for the as-is contract are the seasonal vacation rentals and the PACE disclosure. So the seasonal vacation rentals, that addendum has a couple of different options on it. The first part says the seller may or may not, after the effective date and prior to closing, enter into new or renewal seasonal or vacation rental occupancy agreements at market rate terms for occupancies of the property by third parties after closing. So if you have a property where the seller has seasonal rentals or they do Airbnb or other types of vacation rentals, you're going to want to have this addendum because you need to specify whether or not the seller has the right to enter into new rental agreements that will extend after closing. So you can imagine a 6-month rental that will take place partially while the contract is in effect and partially after closing. Does the seller have the right to enter into that agreement? If we check that yes, they have that right, then the next part asks, is it only with buyer's approval or without buyer's prior approval? If you're on the buyer side, you obviously want it with buyer's prior approval because you don't want the seller to enter into a rental agreement that you think you can get a better term on, potentially. The other thing is you don't want sellers to just enter into agreements that would be unfavorable towards the closing and would prevent or delay closing. So you might want the buyers to be able to have the right to approve or deny that. From the seller side, you obviously want the right to be able to do this because you want to be able to collect rent during the course of the contract if one of your leases is going to expire. That being said, if the buyer's intention is to go in there and renovate the property, the buyer's not going to want to have any rentals in there after closing. The second part of this addendum talks about management agreements. A lot of seasonal rentals and vacation rentals have a management company who's actually managing the rental and coming up with the agreement. If there's a management agreement in place, this contract and this addendum is now saying that the buyer has to observe the terms of that agreement if there are rentals that are subject to the agreement after the closing. I still recommend having an assignment of that management agreement to get the buyer on board with that management company and figure out the terms of that agreement.